Hey everybody. So another issue that often causes confusion is the idea of transportation and transportation costs. So when we buy stuff from somebody, the question is, who owns it when it's in transit, like when it's being shipped from the seller to the buyer? And then the other question is, who pays for the cost of that shipping? This matters not only from a cost standpoint, but from a legal standpoint. If something were to happen to the goods while they're in transit, well, whose loss would it be? Would it be the buyer or the seller? So there's two types of shipping terms. The first is called FOB shipping point, and the FOB stands for freight on board. So FOB shipping point means that the ownership transfers at the shipping point. So when the seller loads it on the truck or loads it on the plane or loads it on the train or however it's being shipped to the buyer, it becomes the property of the buyer at that point. So when the goods are in transit, they're owned by the buyer. When this happens, the buyer typically adds the cost of that shipping to their inventory cost. So if I bought some goods for $1,000 and I had to pay another $50 to ship them, I would just debit merchandise inventory, first $1,000 for the inventory, and then another $50 for the cost of the transportation. So just recognize that when we sell, when we as a buyer, a purchaser, purchase something FOB shipping point, it becomes ours um, as soon as it's loaded on the truck at the shipping point. And that means the cost of that shipping is borne by the buyer, by us, and we're going to add that to our inventory. The second type of transportation cost structure or term is what is called FOB destination, or freight on board at the destination. So when we do it this way, the ownership of the goods remains the seller's all the way until it reaches the buyer's destination. And so when that happens, the seller pays for it and it's owned by them all the way through. Typically, a seller will not add the cost of freight to the cost of goods sold, or I'm sorry, to the merchandise inventory. Instead, they'll just record it as a delivery expense. So they'll debit delivery expense and credit cash. So you need to, again, recognize, okay, am I the buyer or the seller in this transaction? And then what are the shipping terms? Are the shipping terms FOB shipping point or are they FOB destination? Because that's going to impact how we record it. So here's an example. Zmart purchases merchandise on terms FOB shipping point. That means since they're the purchaser, it becomes theirs at the site or at the point it's shipped from. And then they're going to record that as part of their merchandise inventory cost. So to do that, they'll debit merchandise inventory and credit cash. Anyway, I hope this is helpful. And as always, if you have additional questions, don't be afraid to reach out.